Alright, Dragon Ball Legends. I feel like this video is a long time coming. As you guys probably see, a lot of the members of the community are voicing their concerns and complaints with the game. A lot of you have been very vocal about things that have been troubling you across different forms of, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, whatnot. So I figured I'd chime in. I'd provide my own 2 cents on what I've observed across, I've been playing this game since pretty much day one, really. I've been through every season, every meta, every, uphill, downhill. I've been through it all with the game. I feel like maybe now is the time worth saying something now that the anniversary is sort of coming to a conclusion. And I kind of want to focus on 4 things. I feel like we can go on and on forever about what's going on here, but I don't want to go too long. So for this one, I'm going to focus on 4 things. 4 troubling things that bother me the most with the game right now. I'm going to start with lag, lack of events, the co-op mode, and I feel like the developers' blindness to the meta. And then hopefully you guys leave in the comment section below what you think as well. Alright, let's start with the most pressing issue that the game has, something that I feel like every single person playing this game has felt. It's lag. Lag is single-handedly the most annoying, tiring, most troublesome problem that the game has. I can look past the PvE modes having annoying, perfect vanish, perfect timing, a million key, infinite blue card, AI. I can look beyond that if PvP was good, if it was okay, but it's not. And it's such a problematic thing for this game to have because the biggest focus of its content is PvP. It's a competitive game where you're facing opponents across the globe. And for some reason, that experience is not enjoyable, and that's a huge problem. For this game, it almost feels as though the developers see it as this pool of infinite content. So there are a lot of players that will say, hey, I don't have enough PvE content. Hey, co-op isn't that enjoyable. And it feels almost as though in their minds they're thinking, what are you talking about? You got PvP. That's what this game revolves around, which is a little bit sad considering the experience is not that great. I don't know if the developers are at the whim of the infrastructure that they have, but I feel like, and I've discussed this with the other content creators, that it's almost as though the game was developed with the Japanese player base in mind, and that the player base across the globe was given an afterthought. I don't know how the core system works. I would imagine the way it works is when you queue to play PvP, are then going to be, sending out a message to any nearby players saying like, hey, I'm looking for someone to face against. And if you don't find anyone soon enough, what the game does is it expands your reach. Your message echoes out even further, and it goes further and further and further until you find an opponent that's suitable for you. I don't know what kind of criteria they use in terms of pairing, because a lot of people complain about how 5k RP faces against 15k RP people, but that's for another thing. But when it comes to pairing 2 people together, the system is clearly not working that well. In Japan, the population density is several times higher than, let's say, Canada or the United States. So I would imagine a system like this works. There's no complaints there. If you watch the Japanese content creators when they live stream, when they play the game, their matches are great. It really looks like the game should be played this way. It's beautiful, honestly. The game, it's 2 entirely different games when you have lag and we don't have lag. It can be the most frustrating thing in the world. It could be the ultimate test of patience, and you probably want to watch a brick turn into dust when the game is laggy. When the game is not, you're fully engaged, you can make awesome plays, and you're having a lot of fun. But I don't know what it is. When the game first started, it didn't seem that bad. And honestly, whenever you experience lag, a lot of people used to make fun of you. They would say, what are you talking about? You're full of baloney. There's no such thing as lag. But now look at it. It's the center point of all discussion when it comes to PvP. The population density of Japan is what? 900. When you look at Canada or the United States, it's not even close. And I know this is not going to be for others, for some of you viewers that are not within Canada or the United States. I'm not singling you out. I'm just trying to make a point. It feels like the system was designed for Japan in mind, and we were all given an afterthought because the system clearly doesn't work. I have constantly been paired against opponents in, let's say, Brazil, which geographically is much further away from me than Japan. And yet I don't think I've ever been paired against an actual Japanese opponent. And if I have, over across goodness knows how many seasons, it's probably been once or twice. So for the developers, for anyone that actually watches this, that are part of the team, the most pressing thing that you should be addressing right now is your PvP experience, because that is your major selling point. And right now the experience is really not that great. I don't care about how shiny the unit is. I don't care about how fast I load into PvE. I don't care for adventure grinds. You can make all of those experiences great, but the foundation of your game is PvP, and that experience is really not enjoyable. So that would be the biggest priority, no doubt. Alright, let's jump into the second most pressing issue in the game, and for some reason it's the lack of events. I was honestly ridiculously shocked at how little there was to do for what was supposed to be an anniversary. An anniversary is intended to be the most hype moment of any mobile game. You can think of it as a moment of appreciation for the player base coming from the developers, saying thank you for a whole year's worth of support. Here's an overwhelming amount of stuff to do. It's a good opportunity to show how invested you are in your game to your player base, because if at the peak moment, the shining moment of your game, you are not able to provide, you're not able to deliver, it sends a very poor message to the player base on how, I don't want to say invested, but in how detached you are from what the player base wanted, because events were something that everyone has wanted for a very long time. For the anniversary, we got the GT versus, I guess you could call it the Future Saga little event, and not gonna lie, the raid was a good idea. The event itself, I'm gonna be honest, those little stages right there were not really much of anything at all, but the raid was the cherry on top, and that was a very good idea. Very good idea. I don't know if it was intended to be a test run and they wanted to see what was happening, but when you establish this sense of community, when you have everyone working together to a common goal, everyone in Japan, the United States, you know, everyone working together, the entire global player base, to one singular goal, you provide this sense of community, which is a very good thing to do for a game where, not gonna lie, when the PvP scene is intended to be sort of the baseline or the foundation of it all, is a little bit toxic. People are a little bit too rude in this game. So providing everyone one common enemy that is a PvE event was actually pretty darn good. But unfortunately, I guess this is the developers didn't expect us to be so committed to it. But if anything, the very fact that the entire player base was able to decimate a boss with an absurd amount of health in less than a day tells you how deprived they were of actual content. So my hope is that the raid is going to be a continuous thing. Put it alongside co-op. That's a very smart thing to do. Cycle it just as much. 2 weeks, a boss with an absurd amount of health. Every run you complete, you achieve something miles ahead. That's a huge leap forward, 100%. But aside from that, honestly, aside from the raid event, a lot of the new events that they release, when they do, tend to be the same style of, you know, here's 50 stages to clear, you get 1k Chrono Crystals, potentially a new equip, and then you also unfortunately need to use most likely the newest units in order to even complete it, and a challenge rush or whatever. It needs to be beyond that. It can't just be we're facing against, you know, super powerful opponents that only win because they have some unfair mechanics. It really shouldn't be that. I feel like the game really needs to expand and provide new ways for everyone to enjoy the game. Not everyone is going to be interested in PvP. Some people really aren't interested at all. That's where you got to provide good PvE. And the story is actually pretty darn good for a gacha game, but new chapters come slow. New events come slow. Goodness, the events, all these like anime original saga styled events. When was the last time we got a new one? It's the same recycled ones with, you know, Beerus and Frieza and Raditz and Nappa for whatever reason. You guys got to come out with new ones. It used to be a frequent drop, and all of a sudden it just stopped. I don't understand why. If you were to more frequently release events such as that, if you're more frequently going to release new 50 stage events, I suppose. I mean, if you're not going to release new styled events because for whatever reason, I guess you're running out of ideas, at least make them more frequently. It could be the same thing. Just make it a character, you fight him 50 times with increasing amount of HP, you get 1k Chrono Crystals. I think that's a great idea. I think the player base would be unbelievably happy if every PvP reset we got one of those, a 50 stage styled event that is not time gated. I don't understand why time gating is a thing. I understand you're trying to stretch content, but it's kind of sad how even the stretched content is still not enough. It's not a good idea. I think one of those alongside two of these anime, I keep saying animal for some reason, anime original saga styled events per PvP reset would be huge. It'd be a ton of Chrono Crystals, it would give players something to do, and then, you know, for players that are saying, hey, I need even more CC, they're giving me 1500 every PvP reset, that's great, but, you know, now I need to, you know, take part in PvP to earn even more, and then, you know, every 2 weeks people are getting maybe roughly 2k Chrono Crystals, and then they can invest it in the new banners that come out almost every 2 weeks and stuff like that. I think that'd be a great start. One of the pressing issues right now is there just isn't enough to do. Okay, off to the third topic, co-op mode. I feel like lag and lack of events were sort of the more pressing things to address, so now we're going over to things that I feel like, I guess, are okay, I suppose, I don't really know. So for co-op, I feel like co-op is still in its infancy, and the idea was, hey, we're going to introduce something new, we're going to be working on it continuously, but for now it's in a state where you could enjoy it, and we're just going to keep working on it, which if it is, then that's great. I feel like co-op mode right now was a really clever idea. Legends is a 1v1 game, so for them to establish this cooperative mode, I can tell you now, from a software perspective, it must have taken an unbelievable amount of work. So don't think that we're not paying attention. Don't think that we don't appreciate the hard work that went into that mode. No doubt, I understand a lot of work went into it and we're appreciative of it, but I feel like there are still more things that could be done for it. And I think all of us will agree that the biggest one so far has to be that we need a bot should our opponent drop, or I guess our ally rather. They feel like opponents when they drop, but anyways, I know the idea is, oh, you know, if we bring in bots, then what's the point? It's cooperative mode meant for two people to play together. If we just leave you to use a bot, then it's gonna be unfair or whatever. Well, the whole experience of you going halfway through the match and your opponent leaving is not enjoyable at all. If anything, it's going to pull you away from the mode. No one's going to want to play it. So the first thing that should be done 100% is introduce a bot should your ally drop, because it takes a lot of time to get into a co-op match. It really does. You got to go through your opponent not bringing the right unit. Got to go with your opponent, I don't know, perhaps having not the best internet connection, so you have to play really, really slow. I feel like a bot would be a simple thing. And what's interesting is during the little co-op event, the little raid event, we got a bot. So clearly they're capable of doing it. I don't know if it's still in the works, but I hope that that's what they're doing next. And beyond that, I feel like they should make co-op offer a little bit more. in terms of the goodies for it, I suppose, because co-op feels like it's a chore right now, and there's a lot of new styled things that seem to be tied to it, like, oh, you know, like the Super Warriors farming event. We needed to play co-op, what, 70 times in order to get all this Z-power for Yamcha, or was it Krillin? It's one of the Super Warriors, and that's not enjoyable. If you're gonna make it mandatory to, I don't know, get this newest free unit that you're gonna be providing, at least make the experience good. So I feel like co-op needs some improvements there. I would say perhaps offer better rewards within the co-op shop. I think the cost for Chrono Crystals is way too much for what it is. I think if we reduce that a little bit, it would definitely help the free-to-play players in terms of the whole, you know, they feel like there's a severe drought all the time and there's always new units coming out and it's unfair to them. Providing more means to farm Chrono Crystals in a more timely manner would be smart. So adding a bot, improving rewards as part of playing co-op, and making the dual coin shop cheaper would be what I would suggest to do next. Alright, let's wrap this up with the last topic. Now that I think about it, I coined it blindness to the meta, but it feels more like I'm talking about power creep here. I guess it's just this game's inability to establish balance. So power creep is a natural thing in the world of gacha, because every new unit that they release, whether it be tied to some special event, some special day, some special whatever, has to up the bar just a little bit more in order to get players to say, hey, you know, he's either the strongest or he looks the coolest or whatever. So you're incentivized to try to yank the unit. You put a little bit of money into it, you invest all the Chrono Crystals or Dragon Stones or whatever that you farmed up over the course of the year for him. They gotta do something to make them worth grabbing, and in a game like this, where it is a gacha with a PvP mode, it's a little bit difficult to establish that kind of thing, and I feel like they're not taking that seriously. Let's look at Vegito Blue, for example. Vegito Blue was our designated star boy this anniversary. He was plastered everywhere around it. He's even on the damn icon. So clearly this dude, they wanted to make him very good for everyone to say, I need that guy. And my goodness did they make him good. But the issue is they made the guy so good that there's no point in running anyone else but him. He is just too good, and that's a huge problem for a game where it is so PvP based, because it gets to a point where things are so chaotic that who's going to even bother? For those players that didn't get him, you're severely handicapped, and for those that do have him, I guess some people might even say it's boring because it's just too easy to use the character. He is so good that as a community we had to reestablish what Z tier even meant. That's how good he was. It would have been disrespectful to him if he was paired against some of the units we previously called Z tier. That's how good this guy is. And I don't know, it kind of just puts a spotlight on some of the biggest issues the game has right now, and that is this inability to establish balance. I get it, every new guy has to be just a little bit better so people want to get him, but they have to keep in mind that this game has a PvP mode to it. You can't just make everyone super strong, otherwise we get to the common issues that we have now. Matches end too quickly, rising rushes are farmed too fast, it's just crazy. It's just the Wild West right now in PvP. You always see the same team, and for good reason, because it's just the best. There's no reason to run anything else now, and the most problematic part right now is because he's so good, it feels like one little mistake and you lose. That's how good the character is, and that's not fun. Getting Rising Rush real quick is not fun either, and this is just such a difficult topic to explain, but I feel like everyone feels the same way when it comes to facing the character, that he's just not fun to face when he makes things so one-sided. No one wants to play on, you know, nails under their feet whenever they play, having to worry about one little bitty mistake that they get wiped out quickly. It's just not a lot of fun to deal with, and what's scary is the fact that he is only here as part of year 2. This is only the second year of the game. Would you imagine any unit like this, you know, just a short 18 months ago? No. So power creep in this game is rampant, balance is crazy, the meta is wild. I feel like they really gotta slow the pace down because what are they going to release next? Vegeta Blue does everything. How can you one-up a unit that does everything? That's scary, and I don't know, we're kind of stuck in this mess because it's not like they can just delete Vegeta Blue. He's here. He's here to stay, and he's definitely going to be relevant for a very long time because he's just that good. Honestly, I don't even know what I'm going on about right now. I guess my point is they have to be very careful going forward with the units that they're releasing, because overwhelmingly strong units that not everyone is going to have just deters people from wanting to play PvP because it's just not fun. So the game needs to strike this healthy balance, and I get it, you're a business, you want to make money, you need to hype up the player base for all the new units, but at the same time you got to remember that this game is intended to be competitive, so you can't just make it that they wipe the floor with everyone. Otherwise, what's the point of people even playing? They're just going to be pulled away from it when it's just so, the difference is so polarizing. It's clear, night and day. It just wouldn't be fun. I guess at the regen meta, people were too tanky, and people were complaining about it, and the developers, for whatever reason, decided the only possible solution has to be that we get hyper offensive units, and that's where we are now, which concerns me because that means that, are we going to swing back the other way? Are we going to get units that are so defensive that nobody dies now and renders Vegeta Blue useless? I don't really know, but that's the last thing I wanted to cover. The meta is crazy, and I guess it feels like they're not paying attention to it. I guess part of them releasing all these red units is just a sign of that as well, because Vegeta Blue kind of renders them all useless. And people argue, they'll say that, hey, well, I mean, that's why you bring a green, it's not like you're just bringing reds. Well, that is true, but it just goes back to the, you know, walking on nails kind of thing. If I mess up once with a type neutral unit, Vegeta Blue wipes the floor with them. If I go with a red, the newest red that I want to enjoy, I can't, because he's going to get wiped the floor out of. So I don't know. That's my little rant tangent. It's probably not the most, I don't know, properly structured one, and that's because it's very late and I needed to, I guess, contribute to the global, everyone wanted to say something about helping out the game, because it's only been year 2. A lot of players really banked on this anniversary to be a huge turning point in the game. They had high hopes for it, and unfortunately it feels like they fell a little short. There was a lack of events, there was a lack of overall improvements to the game, and I said before the anniversary drop that I really wanted the highlight of the game, or the anniversary rather, not to be new units. I wanted us to walk away from this saying, wow, the quality of life improvements that they made changed the way I view this game. Now I'm excited to play it. But unfortunately we got the thing that I feared most. All we're talking about is how troublesome the new units are. And that's it. It's really disappointing. So I don't know if the developers are watching this. I don't know if any of them are watching this, but my hope is that some of the, I guess, suggestions that I made could be implemented. I don't expect them to, because you guys understand the game far better. They're just suggestions, but fingers crossed it sparks something to help improve where the game is going. I don't know what the direction is. It's very clear that they're invested in the game to make sure that it's a success, so hopefully this criticism or critique or the words of wisdom that I have shared help in some way. I don't really know. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave in the comment section below some things that you want improved, some things that are troubling you, some things that you think I didn't cover. I know I certainly didn't cover everything, but I felt like I covered some of the more pressing things. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, peace.